All right, greetings, fellow owners. Welcome back to another TFFL webcast. This is going to be a special webcast for many reasons tonight. It's Tuesday, November 14th. We are looking back on Week 10 TFFL action, looking ahead to Week 11. Only 3 weeks to go in the regular season. We got lots to talk about tonight. Let me get our introductions done real quick here. I'm Stick. What's my title? Managing Editor, TFFL Media, Leader of the Aliens. We have a guest tonight. Let me start with him in the hat. I think our first ever guest drinking tea on the webcast, Rabbi Newsy from the Boba Fats.
Am I really the first guest drinking tea ever?
What strain of tea do we have here?
I don't know. I just needed something hot to drink because it's freezing in my house. So I just boiled some water.
All right. Berto from Jack's Giant Killers.
Stick, how you doing?
Good. Welcome. How's the back?
Back is much better.
Good.
Thank you.
Hank tonight, czar and CEO of the K-Wheels, making a incredible effort to join us. Had a tooth pulled this afternoon.
Yep.
On multiple painkillers here.
Yep.
Excellent. Great work.
Loopier than normal.
Way to show up.
I'm here. Let's talk TFFL.
Nice work. And last but not least, our commissioner, skipper of the Sponge Fishermen, Chief, coming to us from his childhood, not just his childhood home, but his childhood bedroom. And before you even ask, Chief, why don't you introduce the painting behind you?
Yeah,
you got to talk, Sweets. There we go.
Yeah,
that's from 1983, you said?
1983 family portrait, or child portrait anyway. Very weird to be here. It might be the first webcast ever from Rainham, Massachusetts. Probably certainly the first fantasy football one. So we're breaking new frontiers. I'm glad I can join you.
And I believe the first webcast conducted via phone.
Certainly on my end, yes.
Lots of firsts here tonight.
TFL's mobile.
Turns out okay.
Looking forward to the rant of the tour of the Chief childhood home later.
All right, so we have lots to talk about. I'm just going to throw a bunch of important news out there just to frame things. TFFL trade deadline, 8 days away. I don't mean to spoil a reminder from Chief later on, but that's big news that's going to dominate some of our conversation here. 8 days from now is the trade deadline. I think I have that right for once, Chief. We now have a three-way tie for the #1 overall pick. K-Wheels, Mongols, Devils, all 2-8, all competing for Saquon Barkley at #1 overall. The Beavers have clinched the division title. I think they're the only franchise that can say that. Maybe the AMPAC have clinched. They're certainly in the playoffs, but the Beavers have clinched a division title. The Boba Fats, we started talking about them a couple weeks ago on this webcast. 2 straight more big weeks, 8-2 now on the season. Fats scoring big. On the flip side, the AMPAC, this is news. They have stopped scoring back-to-back weeks under 50. I think they were under 40 this week. 2 wins nonetheless. They are still 9-1 on the season. Zeke Elliott, though, suspended. This team not scoring as many points anymore. It's anybody's title to go claim. The Hams keep losing. 6 straight losses now for the Hormel Hams. Once the favorite in that division, now on the brink of missing the playoffs entirely. Speaking of which, the Lizards now on the verge of missing the playoffs. Lineup decisions leaving 50 points on their bench. Cam Newton and Dion Lewis. The Sponge all alone in first place now. Congratulations, Chief. Good luck down the stretch. Breaking the logjam there in the SoCo West. And the other big news, we're going to talk about it later in the show. Huge game in the NoCo West. Aliens, Boba Fats, basically fighting it out for the division title in Week 11 here. So lots to talk about. I'll shut up here in a moment, but let me give you your weekly trivia question to start things off. I got 3 points for you here tonight. I'm looking for the 3 TFFL franchises never to have claimed a season scoring title. 2 of them should be very easy.
Wait a second. Did we stick? I was getting you breaking up there. Did you ask the trivia question?
Yes. I'm looking for the 3 TFFL franchises that have never, ever won a season scoring title. 2 of them, I think, should be pretty yes. All right, Hank, our graphics department, I think, has worked up some standings.
I have worked up some standings, and I will be happy to run through them. I'm sorry, I was getting a little breakup in that last part. I hope that is not going to translate. But, yeah, to talk through the standings, here we are through 10 weeks in the TFFL. As mentioned, the AMPAC have clinched the playoff berth. However, due to an earlier loss to Birdo, they have not yet quite clinched the division, I don't believe. The Boba Fats leading the NoCo West. The Sponge breaking the logjam, as mentioned. And yes, the Beavers have become our first team to actually clinch their division. And so they are on the way. Wild card teams right now, Aliens, Giant Killers, actually are 6-4, not 6-3, right?
Yep.
Sorry, I didn't update that from last week. Then there's the cut line. Below it are the Lizards and Hams, as mentioned. The Janitors, are going to only way in is to catch the division, so they're going to have to win coming up here. Devils, Aliens, Mongols, just as a tease, the Devils just beat the Wheels this week, and the Wheels have not yet played the Mongols. So there's still a lot to be decided on the bottom end as well.
Wheels, Mongols in week 13, right?
Wheels, Mongols in week 13. So coming.
All right, let me jump ahead a little bit in the agenda. Then let's get into our roundtable talk. But I'm going to jump ahead a little bit in our scheduled talk here to talk about the playoff race. Let's go straight from the standings to again. We've got the AMPAC of they're clinched, they're in. Presumably, will win the division title. A good shot at the conference title. A magic number for the division title is 1. A magic number for the conference title is 2. So the AMPAC are in. The Boba Fats, I think, are a near lock. They're 8-2. Let's say they're in. The Beavers, as you said, have clinched a division title. So we know 3 of our playoff teams, half of our playoff field is locked in. Take a look at the standings at the remaining schedule. I want you guys to tell me who the other 3 playoff teams are.
Mm-hmm. I'm happy to lead just because I'm going to be boring and tell you I just showed them to you. I think the Lizards and Hams do not have momentum right now, and I think that the Aliens and Giant Killers are going to get in. And I know that's not a very exciting answer, but I think that's the answer.
Yeah, I took I said the Sponge were going to win their division last time. So I think Sponge, Killers, and Aliens.
Yeah, this week's going to be key. Between the matches that the Stick just highlighted, that Aliens, Boba Fett's, if Aliens win that, they're in. I mean, so really we're looking at, the 2 wild card teams and the SoCo West winner. As close as the Giant Killers are, I can see them losing out. However, even if they do, they still might make the playoffs, as a second wild card over a team like the Lizards or the Hams or Senators or Sponge for that matter. I'll go with those same 3 to fill out the playoff field. The Sponge, the Aliens, and the Giant Killers.
Berto, I believe you beat the Lizards earlier in the season. Is that correct?
No, I lost to the Lizards.
Okay, so if they tie you, yeah, which keeps them very much alive.
Yep.
Rob, any different take?
No, I kind of agree with Chief. I I think the big question is going to be can Birdo hold off the Senators? I think the Senators look pretty good, right? Senators can score some points. Both of their schedules are a little bit soft, I think, but I don't know. But I think it's going to fall the way it is now with the the Giant Killers making it in and the Aliens. I mean, I think Stick will make it in.
The one thing I'm going to bring up, I don't mean to disappoint Chief here, but I said this last week. I agree the Senators are a very good team. I think it's a possibility that we see the Senators and the Sponge at 6-6 facing off in Week 13 for the division title. Senators team with Tom Brady at the top, could very well not sneak in, but roll in on a 3-game winning streak.
Sponge have a good team too.
Yeah, no doubt. They've got Sponge are playing the Aliens in Week 12. Deal with the Hams first in Week 11, and
I look at the Hams and I don't figure how they've lost 6 in a row. You look at that team with Drew Brees, and Antonio Brown, and Jordy Nelson. It's just I'm afraid of them this week, and I think it's a 1-point guru spread right now, 2 points. And now with Devontae Freeman likely missing this game, boosting Tevin Coleman up.
Yeah.
But you look at this talent, and I don't see a 5-6 team.
Yeah, I think if you're just looking at the names, the Hams, the name recognition is phenomenal. But Jordy Nelson's been dead without Aaron Rodgers. C.J. Anderson hasn't been very good. Drew Brees is not, the Drew Brees of old of scoring. I mean, 6 rushing TDs.
Saints are a running team now.
Yeah, I mean, they've transitioned to a running team. C.J. Anderson hasn't scored in 6 weeks or whatever it is. Jimmy Graham's been, frankly, the only bright spot. I think Antonio Brown's also played under, certainly under his name recognition, but he hasn't been great. Jimmy Graham has been the bright spot, and I don't know. This team is it's got issues, but like Chief said, Tevin Coleman starting, yeah, that's a boost. Freeman, is it going to be a 1-week thing? Or is it a concussion going to linger on for a couple weeks? That could certainly help him in that spot.
Mm-hmm. We don't forget Hams lost David Johnson for the year. I mean, this team is way better on paper than they have been lately on the field. And I go back to looking at where this all turned around, and you guys can thank the K-Wheels for ending the Hams run. They haven't won since.
Nice work.
You gotta wonder, and I know we're going to be talking about teams that are going to make a move, but are the Hams knocking on people's doors right now, or not? As Michael said, look, I've lost 6 in a row, and this, is he, after losing 6 in a row, just saying this team isn't that good, or I wonder where his head is at. So,
as I said before we went on the air here, Michael has been kind of absent, quiet. I don't know if he's out of the country. I don't know if he's flummoxed by his team and not sure what to do. I don't know if he's reached out to you, Chief, to try to get on the webcast.
Didn't he just make a trade on Sunday?
Yeah, for Bilal Powell, right?
Obviously active. He's paying attention.
Yeah, he made that. That's true. He made that trade. That's right. I forgot about that one.
And in case you didn't know it already, Bill Thornburg is watching. So shout out to Bill.
Hey, Bill.
Appreciate your support.
Nice. So has Michael reached out to you to try to get on the webcast as a guest?
No.
Okay.
Nobody has.
That's a great point about the Powell trade. I forgot about that. Executed from the rest area, Chief. Good work.
Yep. The guy at and this is of course, in case you don't know, the Vince Lombardi service area is on 95 North. Is the last New Jersey rest stop before you go to the GW Bridge. Now here's something that never happened to me before. The guy actually let me pump my own gas on the Jersey Turnpike which I think is like a criminal offense or something.
Isn't that against the law?
In all of New Jersey.
First.
Yeah.
The Vince Lombardi rest stop is also the worst rest stop on the New Jersey Turnpike.
Yeah, it's not
you never
not
stop.
stellar.
No.
It's like 2 miles away from the highway.
Yes.
It's
It is
horrible.
long. Yeah. Usually I go fill up with gas because once you get past there, it gets a lot more expensive.
Yeah.
Once you hit the Bronx and Connecticut.
Listen, Vince deserves a better rest stop named after him for sure. It's a shame.
Yeah.
Listen, I didn't mean for us to dwell on the Hams too much, but somebody made a good point there. It might have been Hank, that they've now got an interesting challenge in front of them. They're only a game out of first place. They do have some talent on their roster, yet they're reeling. They've lost 6 in a row. Do they make an aggressive move to try to bring in something to juice this lineup? Or with 6 losses in a row, do you get a little gun shy and not invest in a trade? So 1 week to the trade deadline, what I asked each of you to do is, stare at the roster grid, consider the standings, tell me which team out there is most likely to make a move down the stretch here with the trade deadline looming.
I got one, and then I'll let you guys rant. So just looking at this thing, you're trying to eliminate teams who would be willing to trade, and then which of those teams have got assets worth trading. And I think it's the newer teams that are going to start to realize, I'm not going to get it done this year. Can I get any value out of guys that are borderline keepers? And in all honesty, I had 2, and they're from the same division behind Chief. The Senators, I think, could get rid of LeGarrette Blount, potentially to the Sponge, who could maybe use an extra running back. And the other one is the Hams, I think, could maybe look to try and move C.J. Anderson, maybe to a team like the Fats, who could use an extra running back for the stretch run here. It's a matter of whether the Hams and the Sens think that they can catch the Sponge here in the head-to-heads, or whether they should move along and try and accrue some value for next year.
So I think the team most likely to trade is our guest tonight. And that's what we called out on the trades that should happen last week with the Devils. We still got Frank Gore and Marshawn Lynch out there.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Fats are looking real good, frankly. But there's still that, they still need that running back 2, running back 3, to complement Gurley and Kelsey. If Kelsey's playing the third running back there, I think that's the only piece that's missing right now for the Fats is that running back. And I think, the Devils, again, we talked about it last week, the trades that should happen, they got old guys that they should be unloading. And the question is Nick, asking too much, or does he think that these guys are keepable for another year? But those are people that they should be unloading. And the other thing too is the Fats are neutral on picks. So they don't have their 2nd round pick. They traded that away. I can't remember who that was to, but they traded that away. But they have mine. They have my 2nd round pick. So, they got picks. So to me, it's the Fats.
Tell us, Fats. Tell us all your inner thoughts.
I would say that it makes sense what you guys are saying. You might be right. You might be wrong. We'll have to see. But
non-denial, or
whatever. So I'll tell you where my head is at a little bit. I think I'm probably the team least likely to make a trade. Believe me, I talked to some owners and have floated some things out there, but I'm pretty happy with the wide receivers and the quarterback situation, obviously, and even the running back situation. Like, let's not forget, like, Danny Woodhead's coming back this week, right? Like, not that I'm going to put a lot of stock in Danny Woodhead,
that
but
offense sucks. Believe me.
I mean, you want to talk about? He doesn't need to be my my top running back, but you want to talk about 3rd running backs, right? Figuring Kelsey's number 2.
Yeah.
Woodhead, James White, Ty Montgomery, even though he just kind of got hurt again. Burkhead had a great game the other night, right? There's a lot of options there, guys you can plug in at third running back right after Gurley and Kelsey. So, I mean, unless I get a stud, but I don't want to give away my first rounder. None of the teams out there are probably going to. They're probably going to ask a lot for a guy who I think is going to be better than I would want to get. That's going to be like score more than Travis Kelsey, right? So I think it might be a tough situation for me.
You don't want to pay.
Who knows what's going to happen?
You don't want to pay more. You don't want to pay a first round pick for a guy that you're going to turn around next year and be like, "What the hell do I do with him?" I understand.
I got a lot of guys on my team that I'm like, "What the hell am I going to do with this guy next year?" Right? Like, I got a big decision to make at quarterback, obviously, next year, right? There's a bunch of decisions at wide receiver all of a sudden, right? We'll see what happens. But, I don't know, lots of options.
Well,
I don't feel like I need to go out. I'm not actively pursuing any running back deals right now. Let's put it that way.
Well, and the other thing, too, is we've pushed back the deadline to after, 1 week later this year, right?
Yep.
So, you can wait and see what happens this week. And then you got, 3 days to make a deal. Which last year you would have had to make that deal, by game time on Sunday or Saturday or whatever the trade deadline was last year. Now we got an extra game to play with and see what happens.
Chief, what do you see?
I was out of the room with a question. Who's most likely to make a trade?
Yeah.
I think the Beavers should be looking at that. Obviously, they're going to win their division, but if they want to make some noise in the playoffs, I think they need more. They just lost Rob Kelly, who was a 3-4 type back for them for the season. They have some other guys who can step up and contribute in that spot. But are you ready to trust Marlon Mack full time or Christian McCaffrey? And there's worse guys out there. But I think they could be looking, or they should be looking, to make a move for another piece. And also Senators. The Senators just got really Joe Mixon as an undisputed, first and second down running back now. So they're looking a little better than they were in previous weeks. And Stick, you said earlier, this is a team that really could easily win the SoCo West. Hopkins and Hilton and Smith-Schuster are potential scorers, if not consistent. So they could make a move for a better wide receiver also.
The only issue with the Senators is they don't have their first and third round picks, right?
Correct.
Yep.
I think.
What about Ralph? Does he make a move for a wide receiver?
Ralph was tops on my list, and I think he makes a move for a running back. Ralph probably or should be recognizing at 9-1, having a great year. He's got a big window open. He's got to go after it this year.
Yeah.
And with Zeke Elliott being suspended, with Dalvin Cook being injured, as we've talked about.
Hi, Amanda.
Hello, Amanda.
Hello.
How are you?
He's got to go get another running back. I think he's only really got.
There's the aliens.
Nice work.
Looking towards 2018, I see.
Yes.
I think if you look at Ralph's roster, I think he's only really got 3 running backs he can play. So he's got to go make a move.
Speaking of wobbly teams, the
He's got a situation where he's relying on these young guys, and here we are getting late in the NFL season, and they start to wear down a little bit.
Stick. I think you were early to this, and maybe ahead of the rest of us with Zeke being out, but the AMPAC looked very, very shaky, and their scores the last 2 weeks have been very killer-esque. So 39 and 42, whatever it was.
But they're winning.
They're winning.
As
That's
the killers.
Yep. But all I'm saying is the unstoppable, unbeatable force that was the AMPAC is no more. In fact, they're not the best team right now. They're the second or third best team, maybe in my eyes. They got their wide receivers are not great, and without Zeke in that lineup, they're hurting. And Fournette is not the dynamo that he was earlier in the season, and maybe he is hitting a bit of a rookie wall here, and he's got too many carries. The Seattle offensive line, I know Russell Wilson looks like a magician every week, but man, they are terrible. They're really bad. And Alex Smith is not, lighting it up either lately. So, I don't know. I think the Impact have, and they don't have a tight end, really. They don't have a tight end, a good tight end to play either. So they got issues.
Well, that's what makes their running back depth all the more shaky is they don't have that tight end. I do think I'd be surprised if Ralph isn't talking to Nick and doesn't end up with somebody like Marshawn Lynch or Frank Gore.
Sure. That's a good Impact is a good call.
But I think the bigger issue here framing all this is, going back to what you guys said on the webcast 3 or 4 weeks ago when I wasn't with you. There are 3 teams. There were 3 teams a month ago. There are still 3 teams now that are out of it and willing to trade players. And the rest of the teams are fighting for the playoffs. And especially, forgive me, Chief, if the Hams beat the Sponge this week, the SoCo West, the scenario Hank talked about where the Hams and Senators were suddenly interested in trading players, that doesn't take place if the Hams win this week. And so you're
yeah. I don't think either one should be entertaining trading off their roster right now.
Right.
I think the Hams need to lose one more before they get to that spot.
Right. Maybe if the Hams lose this weekend, if the Senators lose, then they're both 2 games back with 2 to go. Maybe they start trading players. But Hams beat the Sponge this week. You're left with the Mongols, the Devils, and the K-Wheels. And there's not a lot of players left for those guys to trade away.
It's going to be a crazy couple of days leading up to Thanksgiving next week.
All right. Well, let's. I think Chief started to segue us into our next topic, which is the Beavers. Like the Fats a couple weeks ago, the Beavers, believe it or not, with Bill at the helm, they can fly under the radar a little bit. They've not been a dominant team.
He's watching live, by the way.
Hey, that's all right. Bill knows who he is.
In 3, 2, 1.
So this team is now ticketed for the playoffs. They've clinched their division. They lost Aaron Rodgers for the season, but Jared Goff all of a sudden is a stud, explosive quarterback at the top of the lineup. Le'Veon Bell is still a stud running back there. There are good receivers: Alshon Jeffrey, Demaryius Thomas, Brandon Cooks. I think the depth may be a little bit lacking here, but is this team a Pac Bowl contender without Aaron Rodgers?
Yes, I think so. I think this is a really good team, top to bottom. I mean, Jared Goff stepping right in. This week is a little shaky. He's got Mike Tolbert in there, but I mean, I don't think the depth is actually that bad, and maybe. To Chief's point, yes, Rob Kelly does hurt a little bit, but there's worse people to put in, and I've been putting them in the lineup week after week. Besides Marlon Mack, Christian McCaffrey, he's looked pretty good lately, and getting it in the end zone. The wide receivers are real good, and the Rams are putting up a ton of points. I mean, I think this is a really good team. And when we talked before about the Impact, and I said, I think they're maybe the 3rd best team. I think, it's the Fats and the Beavers you got to be looking at.
And the Fats just said they're not making trades. They're happy with their hand.
Wow. That's right on the Impact.
I will listen to anything, though.
Of course. Of course. And maybe there's a running back they had. My pick for you was C.J. Anderson. So you could get him from the Hams.
Maybe, but
or the Garrett Blount. See if you can get him.
Why? To replace what?
Backs up, helps your depth.
Let me keep you on topic. Other thoughts on the Beavers, please. The Beavers, are they a Pac?
Nobody wants to talk about the Beavers, all right? Just kidding. Sorry, Bill.
They're fine, and I wouldn't say they're the second best team in the league.
Beavers.
I wouldn't say they're the third or maybe the fourth either. I don't think they're a packed bowl favorite. Could they sneak in there with some luck? Yeah, sure. I mean, they should probably win a game in the playoffs. But I think that's probably the level of this team.
I'll remind you, at least at the moment, they are the number 2 overall seed.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, that was my point. They
Okay.
win one game and they're in the Pac Bowl.
Right.
Right.
Yep. The Beavers are a threat, like it or not. I mean, they got an easy path.
Well, the Jared Goff situation is kind of interesting, right? Aaron Rodgers goes down, and you're like, "Oh, Beavers are done." Right as Goff like starts going off and looks like Aaron Rodgers basically.
Prepare the offers for the offseason for Goff because Dorney's loves Aaron Rodgers and won't trade him. So Goff is the guy that can be had.
This will be a big topic in future webcasts because, yeah, I think right now Jared Goff looks great. I mean, that Rams offense is super explosive, and they're throwing the ball. Gurley's catching balls out of the backfield. The Goff is suddenly a keeper quarterback for somebody, I think. Yeah, we'll be talking about
they
that.
They got a little tougher test this week with the Vikings. They've had a few cupcakes on the schedule in the last few weeks. I'll be interested to see how well that offense does against a good defense this week.
Mm-hmm.
Me too. That's a good game. As a Vikings fan, I'm a little scared about the Rams. You know, that we'll see. Let's see how it goes. They look good.
The Beavers is another team who they don't have a tight end either, do they?
I think they have Jack Doyle.
Yeah.
Who doesn't add much necessarily.
Right.
No, there's a little concern there. I mentioned their depth seems a little shaky to me, given that Rob Kelly is now injured and out for the year, given that, Lamar Miller to me, seems to be taking a step back with that Houston offense. But, Le'Veon Bell at the top of your running back core is great. Christian McCaffrey has actually been scoring more touchdowns than you might think. So I think he's going to – I think this is a good team. And as long as Jared Goff is throwing 4 touchdowns a week like he's been doing, I would say the Beavers are a Pac Bowl contender.
Very beatable this week, however, with both McCaffrey and Marlon Mack on buys. He's currently starting Mike Tolbert. And as somebody who has started Mike Tolbert before, that's a last resort option.
All right, our last roundtable subject, the Boba Fats, our guests here on the hot seat. Berto, you call this an eye interview if you would like. I don't know how many questions you've got lined up, but take the lead here, and I think we'll all pepper him a little bit with our own questions.
So we'll get a couple questions and we'll go around here. So Rob, what were your expectations of this team? I'm doubting that you were looking at this team as an 8-2 team in Week 10. Is that fair to say? I mean, what were your expectations? Did you coming into the season after you put your keepers in, were you like, this is a playoff team and we're going to roll here? Or what was your thoughts about this team?
I thought it could be, depending on how some of the guys played. Like last year, Gurley, it's kind of a sophomore slump, right? Like, how is he going to bounce back? He obviously has bounced back well. Wide receiver wise, I like my keepers, but again, it was just like, well, could Crabtree keep it up? Could Emmanuel Sanders keep it up? A little bit of a quarterback turmoil in Denver, and I think all those guys have performed pretty well. And my expectation was to be better than last year. But I think I would, put up, pretty consistently 60s, 70s, 80s every week in and week out. I can't say that I did. I was hopeful and I was pretty positive. Yeah.
So what do you think in your mind were the key, whether it was draft picks or trades, the key things that you did and the Fats did to get to where you're at right now? What were the key moves? What well, who did you look at and say, I'm going to go, they get that guy, and this is going to,
Well, I think there's a couple things. I think I mentioned this to Stick on email the other day was, I going out and getting Zerlon at kicker, right? He's been huge. I mean, he was like the best kicker in the NFL or in the TFFL points wise, and he was a free agent. Someone just went out and grabbed him. Same with picking up the Jaguars defense, right? Like they were the highest scoring defense in the TFFL, and they were a free agent, right? No one had picked them up. Spent a pick on them because I think I was starting the Giants or somebody like that. Just some of those intangibles, right? But also, Robbie Anderson has, he's been playing for me. He's been scoring some points. Prescott, right? Like we talked about, and Stick, I think you and I again had talked about, like, would I have kept Wentz over Stafford? What was I planned there? And I really hadn't planned on keeping Wentz, but and Stafford is one of those guys who can put up like 5, 6, 7, 8 points in a given week after he puts up 35 points. But I was pretty pumped to get Dak Prescott, be my backup.
Where did you get
games?
I don't remember where you got Dak, but what round was that again?
I feel like it was like the 4th, right, when the backup QBs started going. I don't have the draft in front of me. I can't remember specifically, but I didn't reach to take him, for sure. I think you went after Stick took Wentz.
And I guess one other thing, we talk about what's the overriding philosophy for the Boba Fatts. Some teams like to build exclusively through the draft. Some teams not exclusively, but 80% through trades. What's the overriding philosophy of the Fats? How do you look at your team? How do you look at when you're putting it together? Are you going out trading? You're saying, okay, I'm gonna work and get the draft picks. What's your overriding philosophy?
I like to keep my draft picks and build through the draft, but I'm not afraid to trade them. Like this year, I'm gonna probably have a really low first round draft pick, right? I wouldn't mind going out and getting a stud keeper with my first round pick. I just don't think I can do that.
You don't see
that are out there, but I like to
ability on the teams that would trade that you're going to get that type of guy.
Yeah. I think my expectations are high for what I would need to get in return, but I like to build through the draft. I think having that stable quarterback is like a number one, right? Like kind of the biggest piece of the puzzle that everybody should be focused on getting. That's why I like having Matt Stafford, and that's why I like, Wentz is kind of a not proven last year, right? Like Stafford was, even though I liked him. So I like having that stability at quarterback for sure. Running back's a little tougher, right? Running back's like the gold of the league, obviously, but they can come and go pretty quickly, unlike a Tom Brady or an Aaron Rodgers.
Okay. That's all I had. I'll turn it over. Phil, you got anything?
Yeah, I want to express my jealousy about Todd Gurley. He's exactly the kind of running back that you're looking for to lead your stable, and I think you nail it in that running backs, we treat them as, gold. You've had Stafford for what, like 6-7 years now? I mean, he's been a rock for the most part in terms of fantasy. Forget Detroit on the field, but in terms of fantasy numbers, he's been pretty solid, hasn't he?
I think I drafted him when he was a rookie. I can't remember who my quarterback was.
But it's only been like 3 years.
It's not that long. I'm thinking forever. I have no concept of time.
Oh, I think you've had Stafford for
a long time.
Yeah. It's been
a long time. So, well, if you remember,
Stafford or Gurley?
No, Stafford. I'm talking Gurley.
Yeah, you've had him for
Stafford. Been 6 or 7 years, it seems like, and it's like you're right. Those are the two pieces that are the franchise cornerstones, and you've got great ones right now, and I'm jealous as hell.
Yeah, we'll make an offer for one of them, Prescott. Well, you got Deshaun Watson, right? So I mean, it's something about the injury, but like,
I'm hopeful. I was hopeful. Derek Carr was was that kind of player who can be had, by the way, for those with quarterback needs. Talk to me about Derek Carr.
Well, don't forget too, Stafford was injured, I think, his first 2 years in the league, right? He definitely did not finish out. And I remember being worried, like, crap, I got another injury prone, like, good quarterback. But he has been fine, knock on wood.
Looks good. Looks really good. So, yeah, your team is this year, I think, is as scary as any to play. And I just know that from you rolling me pretty badly a few weeks back. So, you know, you don't want to play the Fats right now.
It was fun playing Kramer this weekend because I was texting with him, and he was beating me pretty badly. I think it was like the third quarter of the 1 o'clock games. Mm-hmm. I was down by like 25 points, and within like 3 minutes, I think I was up by 25 points.
Right.
I think everybody on my team scored a touchdown within 60 seconds of the other person. And he was it was pretty funny. That's what I like about the team, right? Those guys, like, you know, I don't have wide receivers who are going to put up 25, 20 points, but everybody is going to put up 10, it feels like, every week. And that consistency top to bottom, I don't think I was expecting that at the beginning of the season, but I'm getting it, so that's good.
You had 5 guys scoring double digits, and you talked about intangibles earlier. Zerline, 17.
Yeah, but that's across the board. Double digits is the kind of thing that the teams that win and go deep, they have that along with the Gurley and Stafford anchors. So, yeah, I well done. I think you're looking great shape, and you know, you maybe you need one more, you know, running back, but not even. Kelsey is solid, and you've got enough other guys that could chip in, like you mentioned, Burkhead as a plug-in guy, and so good luck.
It's hard to get those 3 running backs that you can count on. Like Ralph kind of has it, right? But it's really hard to get it.
Very much.
Well, the other thing too is how long is Aaron Jones? You know, is the Aaron Jones injury going to be longer than Ty Montgomery? Is Montgomery going to get some play? So that's another one that, yeah.
Well, that's why I didn't play him last week. I didn't trust it. Granted, he scored early, but
yeah, he was playing Montgomery. I was watching part of that game anyway, and he was getting the carries. Montgomery was
in the beginning of the game, yeah. Then he got injured.
That'll do it.
Hey, for all the talk about Matt Stafford here, I just looked, and Dak Prescott has actually been your starter 4 out of the last 6 weeks.
Yeah.
How much are you making decisions week to week? Are you at all anxious about trying to settle on one guy that you ride through the playoffs?
At this point, with both of them, like, it's matchups and gut, to be perfectly honest with you. Like, I don't know who to play this weekend, right? I think I have Stafford in there right now. Who the Lions play? Chicago, maybe?
Yeah.
And then Dallas has the Eagles, right? So that's a tough call right there. I don't know. But, yeah, it'll probably be matchups most of the rest of the way. We'll have to see what Prescott does with Zeke out, right? Is he better? Is he going to throw more? Is it, you know? So we'll see.
Yeah, that's going to be a storyline to see what happens to the Cowboys. The rest of them, I know that there's another member of the webcast panel who's got interest in that topic about the Cowboys passing game and what happens without Zeke.
Yep.
So, yeah, and we'll see if you can juggle that right. I mean, it's tough to have 2 good quarterbacks and pick the right one every week.
That's the other thing about this week, right? Is like Stick's going to start Dez. Should I start Prescott to offset Dez Bryant? But they're playing the Eagles, you know, and so is that going to be a high-scoring game or is it not going to be?
Ask Chief that question.
Is that the Sunday night game?
The Fats Aliens lineup decisions are very interesting this week.
Well, that's a nice segue into
Chief, you want to jump in here, Chief?
No, I think we've talked long enough. I hope you make the draft next year.
All right, let's segue into our look at the schedule for Week 11. I think we all know what the game of the week is. There really are 2 big games this week, and maybe we'll talk about both. But Chief, lay things out for us.
Well, the non-games of the week for those who are interested: Dirt Devils and Mongols. Again, number one pick in play.
Yep.
Beavers and Ampac. Senators, Lizards, Giant Killers, K-Wheels. Intra webcast panel matchup.
You're going down.
Jet Hams and Aliens at Boba Fett's.
I think the Wheels should make some trades this week and
Hey,
Currently,
and
Fett's are a 3-point favorite.
defile that lineup.
this is that time of year where I probably don't want to
Something
leave
else.
Alberta. I will drop back a slot in the draft to beat you. I will every time.
Come on, Wheels. You need to roll over this week, Wheels. Come on, trade.
Don't worry, I'm good at that right now.
Make some trades. Trade some people away.
All right,
We can talk about that game if you like.
no, let's not move on. Enough. So what is our game?
You look at the lineups of the Aliens and Fats.
Yes.
Of course, we have Rod just talked. He had the Wentz Stafford decision to make in the off season. Well, we'll have them here head to head, so that'll be fun. Remind me who won the first game of the year? Aliens. Okay. Gurley and Kelsey have been pretty much unstoppable for the Fats this year. Ajayi looked good on his Eagles debut for the Aliens. The kickers are two late FAIR pickups in Bucker and Zarline. And Rob just went through that, and we talked about it in the past how it pays to see what the kicking landscape is and try to improve that late. Kenyon Drake's get the start. That could be a thing. So this game is very close. It's a 3-point Fats favorite right now. It's hard to go against the Fats right now. They're rolling. They're making the right moves. Their players are producing for them. So I have to lean slightly towards the Fats.
Fats, is it going to hurt if Carson Wentz just lights it up against you on Sunday night?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Jay Ajayi was running wild. Zach
I'm sure I'll
Ertz.
also be happy.
I didn't realize that you're really loaded on
a
Eagles.
lot of LeGarrette this weekend.
A lot of Eagles heaviness for the Aliens.
Right. This is so. I like seeing some of the matchups that the Fats have. Gurley plays at Minnesota.
Yeah.
AJ Green at Denver. Who else? You have somebody going against New England. Oh, Crabtree against New England. But I think the big issue for me, this is going to be the first big test of what we talked about a week or two ago. I got my three Eagles going: Wentz, Ajayi, Ertz. I got Des Bryant going in that same game. If that's not a high-scoring game, the Aliens will lose.
Well, Stick, you also got a little bit. You're a little bit Dolphin heavy as well.
This is true too. I keep trying to get rid of that, but yeah.
Aliens leading the series 18-17.
Oh wow! I can tie up the series.
That's what really matters.
Yeah. That's an intriguing game.
I think I got a big decision at my my number 3 running back, right? Burkhead, James White, Orleans Darkwa.
Well,
White, Darkwa.
I know we.
Darkwa's another guy who's done well for me this year, the last few weeks.
I know we glossed over it earlier, but the Lizards' calls of the 50 points that they left on the bench with Cam Newton and Deion Lewis. I don't know about not having Deion Lewis in there. Honestly, I don't know about both of those calls. Not to play Monday morning quarterback, but Mike Gillislee was deemed inactive.
Right.
But that was that was a night game. That was a night game, so I get that. I don't
want to disparage Rich, but how do you start Tyrod Taylor over?
I was going to go for that one too. I'm with Fats. I think the Newton benching is worse than the Deion Lewis benching, but
Everybody let it out.
That means we're not going to criticize Rich.
This is the rant.
That's the Cam Newton benching is a terrible decision.
For Tyrod Taylor.
I think they're both. I think they're both bad.
They are.
Anyway.
But we're not going to pile on Rich.
Anyway.
Yeah.
We got that out of our system.
And just to clarify, now let me pile on. Just to clarify, it's not just 50 points they left on the bench. It's 50 net points they lost because Tyrod Taylor scored 0. Reed Cohen scored 0. Net 50-point loss with those two. Yeah.
Those are bad decisions.
The trophy looks nice.
Bad decisions.
There you go. There you go. All right. Let me give you our trivia answer here.
Can you quickly repeat the question, Stick? I'm sorry. I think I'm not positive I heard it.
Yeah, we may be getting some interference with the steel in your mouth.
Could be.
They didn't put the post in today, right? They just took out the old thing.
I got a gaping hole in the back.
So what's that, Chief?
I say you put your weed in there.
I could straight in.
Okay, 3 points on the line. I'm looking for the 3 TFFL franchises that have never, ever won a season scoring title.
Active franchises?
These are active franchises.
Okay, thank you.
Hang
I feel
on.
good about 2 of them, but I don't know.
Like I said, I expect you to get 2 of them just out of sheer
I
logic.
say 2 are obvious. I only feel like one of them is obvious, but we'll see.
All right, well, do you have an answer, Phil?
I'm not looking up. I'm going to have an answer. Got it.
All right, so the first team on this list is the Boba Fats because I like to structure questions around our guest. The second point you should have gotten was the Steel City Mongols because
they're always in there.
See, I was thinking Fats, but that seemed too obvious.
I went Sponge.
God damn it!
And your third franchise that has never won a TFFL scoring title is the Senators.
Ooh.
Sens.
All right, so repeat that again. It was Mongols,
Fats, Senators.
All right,
I got 2.
I got 2.
1.
I got 2. I went Mongols, Fats, K-Wheels, because I know who the third one was.
I won one recently, kind of like 2013, maybe.
Yeah.
All right, so 2-2-1-2.
Correct, Hank. I almost want to give you a point for nailing that.
No.
Okay, this is big. This is big here. I just caught Chief for the season-long tie. Where I'm only Chief and I are tied.
Take back that point, Stick.
Phil, you should get an extra point for your hair. It just like literally by the minute, it just keeps getting better.
Phil,
Guys,
Phil,
I'm on
Were we
a lot
tied
of
going
pain
into
medication right now, and I'm tired.
Were we tied? Were we tied before tonight?
No, I just caught you by 1 because you got 1 point, right?
So if we both got 2 points tonight,
I thought you only got 1.
no, Berto got the 1.
I got 1. You got 2.
Sorry, Chief. And Berto has to go back. And Berto's falling way behind.
All right.
I also missed that night. I would have gotten some points.
We gave you some points.
No, you didn't.
Oh, maybe we didn't.
No. We did give him the option to come on the show under painkillers and participate just like you're doing, Hank. So
that's right. I did it.
Yeah.
Get on.
I give you credit. I couldn't come on with my back that night, so I'll take the hit. Good work, Phil.
Thanks. Thank you.
All right, we're going to start wrapping up here with our commissioner rants and reminders. We've actually given Chief a couple options for different rant segments, including the tour of his childhood bedroom. Chief, what do you have for us this week? Is Chief frozen or is he boycotting?
He's frozen.
Oh no! Right before the tour.
He's very stoic.
You never know with Chief.
You know what probably happened is his phone died or something like
Yeah.
Well, that's too bad. That's terrible timing.
I think this is a good rant. This is like an FU rant. I'm not giving you a rant.
that. But we wanted to see his childhood bedroom.
That's very disappointing. And the other subject I proposed was I want him to start preparing Terry for the commissionership, given that the Mongols can, look ahead to 2018. Terry can look ahead to 2018. We got nothing. All right. Well, then we're going to wrap up. Maybe Chief's going to come back here in just a second. All right. Week 11 action, folks. Week 11 action. Big week. We're starting the second spin through the division games. Obviously, that leads to some big head-to-head matchups. Boba Fett's versus Aliens, Sponge versus Hams being the two big ones.
Killers.
Killers, K-Wheels, sure. No.
Giants, K-Wheels.
So good luck to everybody as we head down the stretch here. We'll see if some trades happen as we approach the deadline. That may be determined by what the Hams do against the Sponge this weekend, whether we open up a couple more teams willing to trade. But good luck in Week 11, everybody. Rob, good to have you on the show. Good luck.
To be here.
Good luck in our epic game.
Excellent guest.
Yes, Fats, thanks for coming on, man.
Great work.
Thanks for having me.
Wheels, good luck. Can we both score, Phil, in the 50s at least?
I want to say 60. I was going to say, let's play
I'd
this.
love to get in the 60s.
Berto, what did you score this weekend?
It wasn't good. What did I score?
I only scored 44 this weekend.
You're 6-3 and you're averaging like 40 points a game, right?
Yeah, it's not. I'm winning ugly. But
I think you crossed 50 this week, though. Is that correct?
no, 46.
Never mind. All right. Well, hey, good luck, everybody. We'll be back before Thanksgiving. But for those of you taking next week off or traveling early, happy holidays, happy Thanksgiving week. We'll hopefully see you on the webcast.
And don't forget trade deadline. We got trades that can happen live during the webcast.
They can.
Next week.
Trade deadline sometime on Wednesday, the 22nd, before Thanksgiving. I'm not sure when we'll be webcasting next week, probably Tuesday night before things start getting busy with the families. But there's Chief. We were just about to sign off, and you got a chance for a rant.
No.
This is the microphone issue.
All right. His phone. Oh, his phone.
Sign language. There he is. There he is.
Nice.
That was worth it.
All right.
Okay. Happy Week 11, everybody. Happy Thanksgiving coming up. We'll be back at some point next week before the holiday. And we'll have lots of action next week, obviously, on Thursday. Go Cuse.
Go Cuse.
It's a good old logo.
Nice.
All right. Best of luck, everybody. Take care. We'll see you next week.
Bye, guys.
Good
All
night.
right. Thanks, everyone.